All right, I'm doing an impromptu live, playing with my new stick to the window camera holder, and we're going to talk about starch. So I'm Tara Reed, if you have never tuned into my channel before, and I'm getting ready to work on quilt blocks for the Riley Blake Designs Quilt Along. So I thought I would show you what I'm doing. That's what they say to do. What are you doing? Film it, do it live, whatever. So I have grabbed my Faultless Starch, because if you're doing quilt blocks, one of the big tips for success is to starch your fabric before you cut it. Now, one other thing I want to show you, I have this table that I made. It's a pressing table, and it normally has this fabric, but this is what I call my starching fabric. So I always put, it's just a piece of fabric folded in half that is loose that I put down whenever I do starching, because then I can throw it into the wash and get the starch out. It gets pretty crispy. So you want to make sure your iron is on no steam, because the goal is to saturate the fabric with the starch and then dry it with the iron. So if you add steam, you're adding more moisture and it'll take a little bit longer. So I'm just grabbing some of the pieces that I have in my scrap bin, because I know I'm going to be able to use quite a few of them for these quilt blocks. So I'm just going to spray the starch, let it sit for a minute so it soaks in, because we want it to get into those fibers. And then I'm just going to move my iron slowly across the fabric until it dries. And if you've never quilted before, this is truly like rule number one: starch your fabric. I didn't always do this, but I've seen huge, you see huge improvements in how your fabrics go together and how consistent you can be with those seams when you starch. And the reason you want to starch your fabric first is because sometimes it shrinks a little bit. And if you've already cut a piece, say it's like a 1.5 inch square, and you cut it and it shrinks, it's going to mess up your quilt block. So I am just running across, getting this to dry. And I'll show you a sample of starched versus unstarched. Now, this is my first ever impromptu live on YouTube. I usually schedule some, and I'm going to be scheduling another one soon. We're going to be making goodie bags for St. Patrick's Day. I'm finishing up my Valentine's Day sewing and moving on to shenanigan sewing. So this is fabric when it's not starched. Now that's what has starch on it, but that's before you dry the starch. So I'm just going to slowly go over that. Again, no steam, because you don't want to add moisture to your fabric. Hi, Heather. So again, if you are just joining me, I am prepping fabric scraps. Now look at this. Oh, it's hot. I'm prepping fabric scraps for the Riley Blake Designs Sew Along. I am a fabric designer with Riley Blake, and so I get the patterns ahead of time so I can post them the day they come out for you guys. It's a free sew along. Riley Blake gives you a new pattern every Tuesday, and each one is by a different designer. Mine will be the last one, I believe. And I'm using my own fabric for it. And if not, I am nothing if not organized. So I went through last night. I have like 4 through 10. And I thought, I just want to be able to cut all the pieces I need at the same time. So I made a chart. Not many overlapping sizes. I was kind of surprised. So it's still going to be a bit of work, but we can do it. And I want to start in my scrap bin and then use bigger pieces. Riley Blake is doing it with their solids or with their batiks, but you can do it with any fabric collection that you want. It's a little more complicated if you pick a different collection, because I wanted to use my own fabric. So I did go through also in Photoshop and figured out what I wanted where as far as patterns and making it all balance. Blues, it'll be mostly navy blue, golds, and white. So I'm very generous with my starch, really saturate it. Let it sit for a minute. So I always starch a few pieces at once. Are you a starcher? Hey, Helen, how are you? This is very impromptu. I got one of those, what's it called? Tentacle iPhone holders. And now that I've said it, you might start seeing it too. It looks like an octopus. It's got like these 3 little legs that go off it, and you can suction it to stuff. So I now have it suctioned to my window over by where I iron, and you can see the mess that is my reality in my sewing room. Sometimes when I do those little videos that's like, oh, hey, this is my room, it's always super cleaned up. I have to say, I live in what I like to call creative chaos. And growing up, I shared a room with my sister. I love her to death. She's not creative, and she's super neat. And my mom was super neat too. So I grew up thinking I was a complete and utter slob, but I have since learned that I'm really not. It looks a little bit, I call it creative chaos in my space, but my house in general, other people consider to be quite neat. But my point of reference was super, super neat. My sister sometimes says she wishes she was creative because she loves the organization of it. I do not know how to get rid of the word. Is it like community guideline words? Let me see. Or is it my talking? I'm looking at the phone to see if there's any setting. All right, Marilee, tell me if are they transcribing what I'm saying and it's at the bottom? Hey, Leslie, how are you? I was telling everybody I was getting ready to starch a bunch of fabric to work on my Riley Blake blocks, and I thought, let's try going live with my new iPhone holder. Hopefully this sounds okay. Okay, so Anne's not seeing words. I have no idea. Sorry, Marley. Ow. Okay, you want to know how to not burn yourself every time you use an iron? Clappers. These are the best. It's unfinished wood. I talk about them all the time. And what it does is it absorbs, it's great for doing seams and stuff, but sometimes I'll do it for things like this just to cool the fabric off. It'll absorb some of that heat, and then I'm not burning my fingers. So we're talking about quilting. This is a piece of fabric that has had no starch put on it, 100% cotton, one of my sunflower designs. Let's see. Oh yeah, it might be the chat. I don't know if you can, you might be able to turn that off on your end, but I don't think I can do anything about it. Plus then I wouldn't know if anybody was asking me a question. So this is, I'll try and keep things up, but you can't see my ironing, I know. This is just the regular fabric. See how floppy that is. And this one is starched. So that'll give you I think you can tell. Okay. Oh, you made your own clappers. Good for you. Riley Blake gave me one for Christmas one year, so I have theirs. So you always want to starch when precision is really important. And it is important when you are doing quilt blocks. I'm not using that kind. So I'm trying to use some of my scraps before I go into yardage for this project. So I'm just going to lay a bunch down and hit them with the starch at the same time. I'm using this Faultless. I got it at Walmart. And every so often I do put the lid back on and reshake it. If you don't put the lid back on, sometimes you get like splatters where you don't intend them to be. I'm gonna spray and just really soak it. Because the goal is to get the liquid starch in between those, in between the fibers. If you want it to be really, really, really stiff, you could starch it and then you could turn it over and starch it on the other side too. You know what, I'll do that on one of these sunflowers so that we can compare. And if you weren't here at the beginning, you can see this fabric that I have on here. I call it my starch fabric because I always put it down when I'm doing starching because I don't want all that starch buildup on my actual ironing board So this is just a big piece of fabric that covers it. And I can throw it in the laundry every once in a while to get the starch out. And we're using no steam because the goal is dry the starch, not add water to it. And you can see this, I think, oh, excuse me, choking to my own spit. I can see the steam as it dries. I'm not sure, can you see that? Because I don't have the steam on. So any steam you see is just the starch drying in the fabric. So is anybody else doing the Riley Blake sew along? It's free. It's going to be 16 blocks and then a whole big center. Oh, your husband made yours too. I've seen some, I don't have one. I've seen some that are square. Some meaning quilters clappers. So like this is long. They originally were for tailors, really designed for seams in clothing. And now some quilter ones are squares. So it's like a 6-inch square, whatever. So you're getting more of that space. I don't have that size. If anyone has that shape, do you like it better than the other? I guess you could just do stuff faster. So I'm going to hit this one on the back too, and we're going to see how much of a difference it makes. All right, and if you are new, my name is Tara Reed. I didn't hit it with the starch. I am an artist and a fabric designer. I've been designing with Riley Blake since 2019. And I had designed fabric with South Sea Imports years ago, like 15 or so years ago, long time ago. And I've been doing art for products, but now I'm just really focusing on fabric design because it's my favorite, and teaching sewing. I have lots of lessons, tutorials, projects on my channel. So if you are new, make sure you subscribe. If you are new or have never hit the little bell button, that is to allow YouTube to notify you. It'll notify you if I impromptu come on live. It'll notify you if I've posted a new video tutorial. So Helen and Leslie, I know you have been on my lives before. Did you get a notification or did you just happen to be on YouTube and saw that I went live? I would love to know. Oops. Did you see that? My iron just threw some water out of it. So I guess it's better to have an iron that isn't really full of water when you're doing this too. Let's see. Okay. Ow. Okay, so here's one. This one. So this one I starched on one side. Hi, Dawn, how are you? And this one I starched on two. I don't know if you can see the difference, but I can feel the difference. So when you're doing really small pieces, and if you missed my chart, I made a chart. So I have the instructions for blocks 4 through 10 ahead of time, so I can have them ready to post as they release the directions to you. And I was like, oh, so many pieces to sew. So I went through and made a chart of all the sizes and how many I needed out of each fabric, and then charts for which block. So if I ever do a sew along or a quilt along, I'm definitely making a chart for you guys. Oh, good. You know what? We all help each other here. I often learn a lot of things from the comments. Somebody left a comment this morning about going to the Dollar Tree. Getting something for my fingers, like maybe little silicone things, because she was really worried that I was burning my fingers when I was using the hot glue gun to make the design boards. And I really was. I'm not sure how hard that's going to be. I don't know if I'm going to be able to use it. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about it. Sometimes I'm resistant to new things. I don't know if I'm going to be able to move my fingers as much with that on. Has anybody ever tried that? I'm going to run and get the 3 blocks that they've already done so I can show you. So hold on 1 minute. I'm back. Okay, this was block number 1, and this was by Lori Holt. And you can get this on the Riley Blake website or their blog, the pattern. This one came out this past Tuesday by Beverly McCullough of Flamingo Toes. Let's see. Brand new to quilting. Okay. I find the Riley Blake so long. Go to, Helen, are you on social media? I know they post on Facebook and on Instagram every week, or you can look at my Facebook or my Instagram and I have links as well, or you can just go to Riley Blake Designs with an S at the end.com, and then I'm trying to think, on their navigation bar, click free patterns and then sew alongs. Let's see, free patterns, sew alongs, and I think it's called the RBD, Riley Blake Designs Challenge, and then click 2025. So every Tuesday they release a new block. Here's what's coming this Tuesday. This one is called Thorns Among Roses. Nope, I got that backwards. Roses Among Thorns, and this is by Jennifer DeLong of Sew a Story. I'm not till last, so hopefully people will hang in. So basically you get a new quilt block designed, a quilt block pattern designed by one of their fabric designers every Tuesday, and they do, I think, 3 or 4 a month. By the end of May, you're gonna have 16 blocks, and then we're gonna sew it all together and you end up with a really cute quilt. And I guess this is the first time I've gotten organized enough to sew along with this. In years past, they haven't shown you what the end quilt looks like until the end. But this year they decided to sew it together themselves. They have so you can see what it's gonna look like. It's really cool. I'm really excited. I'm really excited that I got organized enough to do that this year. So I worked with scraps, but the main fabric that I'm going to be using, and I don't know if you can see this, is from my Honeybees and Sunflowers Please, but oh yeah, I think you can see it. It's got white bees on white. And so I'm using this as the white and the neutral for anywhere you could do plain old white. And Riley Blake has a lot of different white on white fabrics that are kind of fun. Or you can use their Hush Hush collection, which isn't white on white. I can't remember. I haven't done white on white except in my collection, so I'm not sure what they call their collection. I talked too fast? Okay. Riley, R-I-L-E-Y, Blake, B-L-A-K-E, designs.com. And then free patterns, and then sew alongs, RBD challenge 2025. Open another tab and just find it. See if you can find it and tell me if I said that wrong. So I'm going to need a lot of squares, crazy sizes on my chart. This is this fabric, the white fabric. It's like 16 2x2s, 4 1 by 1.5. I got something was an 1/8, I think. Now that must be in a different fabric. These are at least halves and whole numbers. So that's cool. Let me see if I can find a Hush Hush to show you. Oh, that one right here. So I've done 3. I've gotten to participate in 3 of their Hush Hush collections. This is from Hush Hush 3, I believe. So what it means is it's a very subtle, very spread out pattern. You can see it better. So I did little light bulbs with hearts in the center, but there is color on here. So you could use this in projects as like a neutral in place of a white, but you will obviously see this pattern. The white bees on white are going to be even more subtle. And I think I have something else I can grab. Hold on. This is the beauty of curated chaos. If you know where to find it, you can find everything at your fingertips. So this is one that I did with my Hush Hush from the most recent collection. So you can see the colors, but if you hold it back, it really reads as a neutral. It reads as white until you get closer. Okay. Do you guys want, so I'm going to show you a peek of what I'm going to do next live. I did decide, Helen, I just haven't finished the sample, but hold on. So people are really liking the heart goodie bag. So we're going to do a shamrock, but I'm going to do it live with you. I'm trying to get it to not glare because the window's going right at it. So we're going to do a shamrock, and it's just pinking sheared all the way around. Really, they sew up really fast. You always leave a lot of space up here so that you can pinch and tie it and still see the shape. So this is what we're going to do live next in the next week or two. And then for my members, I'm going to be giving them the templates and doing this one, which is like a little pot of gold. Yeah, so the fabrics with the print, the little prints, it's called Hush Hush. That's what Riley Blake calls the collections. And they have like Hush Hush 1, Hush Hush 2, Hush Hush 2. And they are collections of, I think, 15 to 20, maybe more, different prints, but every single one is by a different designer. And that's one thing I love about working with Riley Blake is they really give the designers a chance to interact with them. It's not just, give us your art, we don't want to hear from you again. We don't want to participate with you. They really make it fun. They're like, hey, you want to try this? Yes, yes, please. I'm a yes, please, girl. So anyway, this one and some other special shapes are going to be exclusive to my membership. If you aren't familiar with that, it's at, I'm going to talk real slow. So SEW with Tara Reed, REED.com. And then if you go /$trial, you can try it for $1 for a week and see what you think. It's lots of videos. There's some exclusive content. We do lives that are longer, like more complicated projects than I do live open on YouTube. There's more tutorials, lots of downloads, printables, projects, and everything is ad-free. So it costs to subscribe, but it's an ad-free experience. So that's kind of fun. So if you want to check that out, please do. We're having fun in there. So now I'm going to do this big piece because I'm going to need a big piece, and it's got lint all over it. All right. Where'd my lid go? I'm not live if I haven't lost something, right? Helen and Leslie can tell you that is the truth. So I told you if you were on, I was talking about my sister and how we shared a room, and she didn't appreciate my messiness, creative chaos. And so I made a sign for myself that said, creative chaos is better than idle neatness. And then I made her a sign that said idle neatness is better than creative chaos. She loved it. She also says, I'm just really soaking this. She also says she doesn't have to be creative because I am. And she just places orders. Like did you guys see the fabric trays? I don't have them handy. The fabric trays with the snaps that I did a tutorial, 3 different sizes. I took them with me. Somebody had put in the comments that they were going to make them for travel. You know, like throw them in your suitcase and then you can snap them up and organize your stuff in the hotel. And it's like, oh my gosh, what an amazing idea. And so I put that in my suitcase when we went to India last month for my son's wedding. And we used them and they were great. And it was pretty funny because I pulled them out thinking we were going to share. Suddenly they are full of my sister's stuff. Older sisters, right? Who has an older sister? So then when we were getting ready to leave, I said, oh, you really liked those since you hogged them. Do you want to take them home? And she's like, well, no, I'm going to let you take them home. And I would like to request some for me with a fabric that's a little bit more me, because the samples I had done was fishing fabric, which is totally not her or me, but I love the fabric. Okay, I have never had my iron as full. It's got water almost to the max line, and I've never had it this full when I've starched. And I am learning a lesson that it's too full because the ad-free, right? It's good. When it's full, every once in a while, a big old thing of water is shooting across my fabric, slowing me down. Not the best. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep doing this. Did anybody do anything fun this weekend? We have been remodeling here. We remodeled the upstairs bathroom, and if you've ever done any remodeling, you know it's like a chain, it's like dominoes. You think you're doing one thing and you end up doing 5. So we thought we were doing the bathroom, and then that became, well, okay, get the bathroom done, paint the bathroom. Why don't you paint the hallway? If I dump it, okay, I'll go down. Well, I'm almost done with this, with the iron. So then we painted the hallway, and then I was like, well, if I'm going to freshen up the hallway, I'm like that Give a Mouse a Muffin book. You know that one? If you have kids, you'll know that one. Chain effect. So then we painted the guest room. Oh, I just did it again. Helen, I should have listened to you. Then we painted the downstairs bathroom and our master bedroom. And when the painter, who is also a carpenter, if you can ever find a painter-carpenter combo, it's the best because they just come in and do stuff. Let's see. So he was down there, and I live in an old house. It's like 101 years old, and it's had so many different people remodeling stuff. And I think where the bathroom is downstairs used to be a porch, like an outdoor porch. So it's like this long room. And then there's like the bathroom, and then there's this little vestibule with shelves. It was kind of a linen closet, and then a door to our room. So it's Jack and Jill. I'm done ironing, so I'm just gonna make this so you can see my mess a little bit more. Oh, maybe. There we go. So, you know, when you have guests over, it's only a bathroom downstairs. So the shelves are there, and they're looking at my sheets and my laundry basket, my toilet paper and stuff. So the guy's like, what if we built doors? Oh, so amazing. So amazing. So I have been, and they're almost done. So most of the weekend I have been cleaning. It has been a dust disaster around here. And it's just everywhere we haven't been painting has everything from everywhere that we have been painting. It's a mess. Not creative chaos, just remodeling mess, I guess. But it's worth it. All right, well, I just wanted to jump in and talk to you about starch and starching, always starching before you cut your pieces for a quilt. I am going to be doing, it's still in my head, I'm planning, I've got some notes, but in my membership, I'm going to be doing a whole course and series for beginner quilters. So if you have never done it before and you want to learn about quilting, or you're really new and you're like, okay, I want to know how to make this an easier process, that is going to be in my sewwithtarareed.com membership. We're going to be talking about like the tools that you need as when you're just starting, and then things that you can add along the way that will, you know, cost a little bit, but save you a ton of time in the long run. And then also talking about how to get really precise with your seams and different things like that. And then quilt blocks. I will leave you with this since we're talking about quilt blocks and quilting. I know I shared this on my last live when we did the heart quilt block. My theory is any beginning quilter should never, ever, ever start by making a quilt. You want to make some quilt blocks, some simpler quilt blocks, so that you can practice your techniques. Like, for example, if we're looking at these quilt blocks that I showed you. Okay, so this is the one we made, and you can find this live. There's also a non-live, more edited version of how to make this heart. This is a great beginner block because it's not too complicated, and you can practice your skills of getting those seams right, matching this seam and this seam. So that's good. This one, I'll answer your question in a second, Leslie. This one, not the best if you haven't done many blocks, because if you look, it's got a lot going on. It's got like a pinwheel block in the middle, and then some altered flying geese, because this point doesn't come down here. So it's a little bit different. It's just a lot of pieces that you have to put together. So you can do this as a beginner, but it wouldn't be the first block I would recommend. All right, so Leslie, I say to wash, dry, and starch when you iron it. I'm going to admit that I don't always pre-wash my fabric before I sew. They say to. A lot of people will admit that they don't. The times that I do definitely pre-wash, if it's going to be a quilt that's like I know is going to be snuggled and loved, especially by kids, and washed a bit, I will pre-wash, because you want your fabric to pre-shrink. And if you're using different brands of, if you're doing different brands of fabric, they might shrink at different rates. So then you might get puckers, even though you didn't have puckers when you sewed it together. I always pre-wash anything that's for a baby, like baby bibs, baby burp cloths, because we know they're going in the wash a lot. These I did not pre-wash, but I starch and press with no steam. I think what you might have heard, I can tell I'm getting hot from my iron. Move this. Dribbled on that again. Okay, got to put that so it's going to stay flat. This is what I call my starch fabric. So it's just a piece of fabric that I had that is as long as my cutting board, which happens to be 45 inches wide, so that I can iron the whole thing. It's straight on either side. I'll post a video about how I made that. And so I just have it doubled so that it covers the whole thing. And whenever I starch, I put this down so that any overspray, or if it goes through the fabric, goes onto this fabric, because this, can you hear it? Oh, put it by my microphone. Where's my microphone? Oh, I don't have a microphone. Okay, microphone's right there. You can hear how crunchy it is. So every once in a while I throw this into the wash just to get the starch out, but it's literally just to keep the starch from really building up on my board. All right. Okay. All right, Marina, I've got you. I'm going to get started on that shortly. I am a little bit ahead on my YouTube videos, and I'm trying to add stuff to the membership very regularly. I am finishing art. Juggling sewing and painting and videos gets interesting sometimes. I'm finishing art for a new Western collection, and then I'm also having to start the art for the covered bridges in winter. Spring just came out. I'm going to be unboxing that shortly. I have it downstairs. I should have had Mr. Tara bring that up. Oh, by the way, if you were on my live, the last live, and we were talking about him and he came up, he's loving it. I keep calling him Mr. Tara. He doesn't want to be called Mr. Reed because I didn't take his last name when we got married. Because I was like, which is Harris. I was like, if I take your name, it's not going to show anywhere because my name is my business. So I'll still be Tara Reed everywhere, like Facebook, social media, whatever. So I just kept it. So we've got a couple different names going on in this house. Anyway, that was fun. So I just keep calling him Mr. Tara. So, and he's gotten a couple comments too that he has really enjoyed. So keep a comment. I think that's it. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to go cut all of these little fabrics to all of my sizes. And I hope you have found the page for the sew along. I'd love to see what you're doing. If you post on social media, make sure you tag me, or you can even email it to me. hi@sewwithtarareed.com. Trying to keep my sewing stuff over there, or you can do my regular website or Facebook, wherever you want to find me. So anyway, I'm so glad you guys jumped on. It was fun to chat and not just sit in here with my iron all by myself. Have a great time. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and I will post within the next 2 or 3 days when the next live will be to do the cute little goodie bags for St. Patrick's Day. So thanks for joining me. Have a great day.